Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
It is Thursday, and all of our guests today, including Ray Ferraro. He knows all about the Western Hockey League and the Vancouver Giants. Brought to you by the Giants. Giants back at the LEC Saturday. They take on Prince Albert, 7 o'clock. Grab a White Spot pack for any game, which includes 4 tickets and a $40 White Spot gift card. Pack starts as low as $129. Head to vancouvergiants.com to grab your tickets for every game. Joined now by Ray Ferraro, NHL on ESPN, Canucks analyst on Sportsnet, and as of yesterday, BC Sports Hall of Famer. Congratulations, Ray. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. It was a fun day yesterday. You know, Donnie, it's a fun day to remember and to think about some moments and events in your life that, you know, and people that helped you out and stuff. It was really a great day.
Ray, you and I texted yesterday, and I felt the same way when I got inducted last year about my hometown. How much of this has to do with you growing up in the great city of Trail?
Not really calculable, because, like, you know, you can't do anything successfully, I guess, unless you love it, and you can't have a love for it and have that love grow unless you have support. And you've got to have role models. And I mean, this is a general speak, I guess, but because in some cases it works anyway. But like, I grew up in Trail. My mom and dad were like always there, always so incredibly supportive. And when I was playing, when I was a kid, as much as I loved the Boston Bruins and Bobby Orr, I mean, that was just like, that was just like out there, right? Like, you know, like that was out there. My dream was to play at the Cominco Arena on Friday nights at 8:30. That was the big game, and that was the Smokies. And where the Smokies, of course, were, you know, what I watched. The people that I looked up to were all the guys on the '61 World Championship team. They were, you know, it's crazy. I mean, they're just guys living in town. They're working around town, and you'd see them. And my dad knew a lot of them. They were of the same vintage, and so I met a lot of them. And you know, they were like mythological to me, like, because nobody had ever seen them play. Like, none of us, certainly not me. But I just read about them, and I wanted to know more. And so the guy that I followed, though, in town, and this is where Trail is like, it's just so tight, is that, you know, Steve Tambellini's a few years older than me, and he had gone off to the Western Hockey League and to Lethbridge, and was a first-round pick with the Islanders, and I wanted to be like Tamby, right? I wanted to have the success that he had, and Tamby's dad played on the '61 team, and you know, and if I ever went to buy sporting equipment, I went to Seth Martin's sporting goods store. That was you know, Seth was the legendary goalie of the '61 team. And so, you know, Norm Lenardin scored the championship winning goal in '61. And he was one of my dad's best friends. I mean, he was in our living room 1,000 times. And so Trail was just like this sporting hub, that sports were really important, and it was really important for people to support it. And that gave you a launching pad, right? And so I was lucky to grow up there. I just loved it.
Hey, Ray, I saw yesterday, I know I'm not supposed to talk about this on Check, but I watched the piece on Global yesterday, and you seeing you said it was the first time you saw it. Was it a grand slam that you hit at the BC Championships, Little League Championships, and your Trail team went on to the Little League World Championships? I think we can all agree that you're not the tallest guy in the world. You were towering over everybody in that. What was going on there?
Well, great. 11-year-old Ray on the team that went to the World Series. I was the second baseman. I was tiny. I had my only growth spurt of my life in the winter after that. Okay. And by the time I went from being the second baseman batting second, and, you know, like back then you bunted a lot and all that. Then I was a cleanup hitter. I was a catcher when I was 12. Like I don't know. It was the only time I was big. And I look at that video and my goodness, I laugh at the guy asked me what's, home run in the first inning, grand slam, your second time up, what's going right today? And I'm like, yeah, pretty much everything. I'm like, what a cocky little twit, eh? Like 12 years old. Like, that was great to see, though.
Great video.
Ray, Canucks are one of 4 teams with no wins in the NHL. Now they got the defending Stanley Cup champs tonight.
Now you're going to bring Ray down. He's talking about the BC Sports Hall of Fame here.
Hey!
Now we're talking about the Canucks.
He's a legend.
Well, I thought we were going to be talking about shopping for bananas or something.
Every second day.
You can only pick the bananas that are on display, Ray. And the only ones on display when I went were the small ones, so I took them. Bottom line. You have no choice. You have no choice, Ray.
Well, I guess you can't be rooting around in the back. You got to take what's out there, right?
I can't go from Save-On to Safeway looking for long bananas. I can't do it, Ray.
Okay, just stop it.
Anyways, your concern level, Ray, where is it with the Canucks?
Okay, I was in Edmonton the other night. After the first period, they're down 2-0, and they looked stressed. They looked frustrated. Nothing was going very smoothly, and they ended up, they come back and win that game. And so one win. Now, they've played 4 times at home, and they've got 1 win. And you could almost feel like this exhalation, right? Like they're just like, oof, we finally won. I guess they were happy, but it was more relief.
Yeah.
And so when I look at the Canucks, I think I could sum it up by saying in my opinion, they all think they're working as hard as they can and as smartly as they can and efficiently as they can, but they're not. And the results tell you they're not. And so are they 30% off? Probably not. They're probably 10% off. But the problem is when they make a mistake, they make a doozy and it ends up in the net. Like the Kucherov goal the other day, the first one. So Juleson falls down and that sucks, but that happens. It's what do you do to respond to that one event? If you look at the goal, there's 4 guys in the slot. Forbert goes out on, I think it's probably Point that's got the puck. He goes out to front him. Now there's 3 guys in the slot. Suter's kind of hanging out. He's not real sure where to go. Juleson's racing back to the net. And they leave the most dangerous guy in that play. They leave him alone. And so the mistake they made, it turns out to be a big blunder, and it's in the net. And when you're playing poorly, the mistakes you make really hurt. When you're playing better, when you're playing well, the mistakes you make, you either positionally you're in better shape, so it doesn't become a big mistake. You're in a good enough shape that you deflect a shot or deflect a pass. And right now they're not in position. They're not in the position to help out. They make a mistake, it's a big one. They're not. You lose aggressiveness through lack of success. You lose aggressiveness, and just think of the Canucks last year. They were aggressive. They forechecked hard, they backchecked hard, they tracked hard, and right now they just seem a little bit in between on all of that stuff.
Are you as surprised as everybody else that the Colorado Avalanche are 0-4, Ray?
Well, yes, but so let's take a look. Why they, no Nichushkin, terrific player. All kinds of problems, I know, but terrific player. They're hoping on Landeskog. You don't know. Go back to Nichushkin for a second. They can't use that cap space because when he comes back, they got to fit him in.
Yeah.
Even if they're going to fit him in to trade him, they got to fit him in to get him on the roster. You can't trade a suspended player, so they can't use the cap space. So they're in deficit. They're not as good a team as they were. Their goaltending position's a mess. They've given up, I think, now 25 goals. Is it 20? No, 25 goals, right?
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
It's wild. And so, am I surprised? Sure. Then I look a little deeper and I go, maybe not. Like if they had one, just like if the Canucks or Colorado had 1 win, would it look a little different? Probably.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I really don't believe too much of October hockey unless you've dug yourself a hole that you can't get out of, and that becomes the danger.
And Ray, quickly, if you don't mind, what goes through your mind back to the Canucks when you watch Elias Pettersson these days?
I think he's on his heels. He it's like he's waiting to react instead of create. It seems. I'm going to use the word tentative, but I don't know that if that's really the word I mean. It feels like he's on his heels, that he's not pushing a pace or a play with all the things that make him what we remember, and that's a creative player, a dangerous offensive player. If you're not up on your toes, like if you're not aggressive and into the play, then you're taking away a lot of what makes you the player you're supposed to be. And right now, that's what it seems like to me.
Ray, thanks for this. And I just want to say this, that you and I have known each other and worked together for quite a while. You get in as an athlete. I think a lot of people out there, including myself, who feel you get in as a broadcaster as well, mostly because, and I'm in the BC Sports Hall of Fame as well, mostly because both you and I got to work with David Pratt.
That's the key.
And we survived.
And survived, sure, absolutely. By the way, it was nice to get inducted as a player because I think in a lot of cases, most people forgot that I played. And so it's kind of nice, like like my kid's age, they don't know. They're like, yeah, you're on the EA game, aren't you? Yeah, well, that's what I did. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and I bet Dad sends them to the Hockey DB page in a second, right? Check out the numbers in Brandon.
I did mention. Yeah, I have mentioned, yeah.
Ray, all the best and congrats.
Thank you, guys, and we'll talk to you next week.
You bet.